So, welcome everyone to week 4. I feel like the last weeks have been so rich but have flown by. So, I'm so happy to be together. And we're going to begin with 3 practices that can be useful for when strong emotions are coming up, like distraction, high energy, anger, worry. So, we'll just do a little taster of each of them. And the first one is a movement-based practice that we call passing clouds. It's based on a Tai Chi move. So you want to allow yourself to have a solid, grounded position, so you can snuggle in on your seat a little bit to make sure you feel very connected. And then find the very base of your spine, and then allow your awareness to come up your spine like a flower growing up towards the sunlight, the kind of natural reach in our spine without being strict. And when our back feels upright and stable, our front can be open and receptive. So it means that there's easeful space for our lungs to breathe. So just connecting with the sense of opening and expansion as your in-breath manifests, as your in-breath appears, and the sense of letting go and release with your out-breath. Deliberately interrupting the momentum of our day so that we create a peaceful clearing, a peaceful space for us to be a human being. And passing clouds is a very simple practice that can be very effective for our bodies and our minds. And you can't see my hands, but you can imagine that my hands are on my lap like this. And I'll demonstrate one of these, and then we can do this together for a few minutes. So I allow one hand to kind of lift into the air and to move over towards my opposite hip, and then to rise up into space, and then to simply pass my awareness, just like a cloud passing in the sky. And as that hand falls gently, the other hand begins its movement to the opposite hip, just passing by. And we can really stay in our physical bodies, aware of how it feels for a hand to lift up through space, how it feels to pull across through space, and how it feels to sink and let go. So just allowing this motion. And as you get into your own rhythm, we might notice some different things. We might notice that we switch off very easily, not as interested in our hands. We think, I've seen that before. So we know that actually, since you last saw your hand, it's changed. It's a slightly different hand. Cells have been born, cells have died. So we're allowing the newness of familiar things. And as you see your hand, you might see your parents' hand, your grandparents' hand, knowing that there are thousands of ancestors in this hand, this kind hand. This hand that has created and supported. This hand has wiped away tears. This hand has cheered and clapped. So just allowing yourself to appreciate your hand just as it is. And we can pay special attention to the letting go part as the clouds do pass away. You sense the weightedness of your hand as it comes to rest. This hand that was floating just a moment ago. So we'll do 3 more passing clouds. Still allowing it to be fresh and new in every moment. Beautiful hands. And then allowing your 2 hands to rest. Sensing how it feels to have stillness after so much motion. So that's our first of our 3 practices. And for the second one, again, this is one that's particularly good for when we're really angry. It's called storm meditation. And we get to use our heart's imagination to imagine that we are a tree. So you might think, if you were a tree right now, what kind of tree would you be? So you might be an elm tree, an oak tree. Maybe you're a great sequoia tree, a tall one. Maybe a pear tree that offers such sweet fruit to people. Pomegranate tree. So allow yourself to choose and sense. You want yourself to be quite an old tree, so you know you're deeply rooted. And you can allow yourself to be a tree, maybe on a hillside or in a field on a sunny day. So first we just allow ourselves to sense our tree trunk. You might sense where the trunk goes right to the soil edge and then follow it underground to where your trunk goes underground into these thick, vast root system. Just taking a moment to observe. This is where so much nourishment comes from. Drinking up fresh water. Other trees send medicine sometimes through our root system. You can sense the mushroom network, the mycelial network all around us, to know that we're so deeply connected to this land. And it's dark and quiet, safe underground. And then we'll go back up our tree trunk, and this time we'll visit our branches. So sensing your branches, sensing where they become even smaller till they're little twigs, and sensing all of the leaves. So as we get acquainted with our tree, we might notice that the weather is changing quite quickly, that there were white clouds in the sky, and now they're very dark grey, full of rain. And they're gathering together to fill the whole sky, very deep grey, and we feel the first drops of rain on our leaves. And we hear a rumble of thunder. And the rain begins to pelt down, very heavy rain crashing against us. And we sense lightning a little bit further away. and the wind is whipping upwards. And so we can sense our leaves and our small branches are shaking very strongly. And this is not a safe place to be. So as the storm begins to gather and become closer to us, the thunder and the lightning are coming closer, we sink our attention. So physically, as humans, we do this by moving from the level of our head all the way down to below your belly button. You want to be deep down in the tree trunk. You might even go underground if that's safe, so wherever you want. But we come right down and we notice that the wild, chaotic motion that is further up in our branches is not here. That here it is so stable. Nothing is moving. Our trunk is so solid. And as the storm moves over us at the moment, we can hear thunder and sense crashes of lightning. We can even go underground if we want, where it's so much quieter. Just allowing ourselves to rest, to know that we are grounded, we are safe, we have everything we need here. And with our breath, we aim our breath below our belly button. So your in-breath might be a very gentle, soft in-breath, but you're aiming to receive it below your belly button. And you can always put your hands together and put them on the lower part of your tummy so that you can really feel your breath in your body. This is a body breathing deeply. And as we connect with our breath and shelter from the storm, we notice that the sound of thunder has moved further across the landscape. That the rain is steady but not so heavy. That the wind is dying down. So our branches are moving, but they're not moving violently. And we can move a little bit up our tree trunk to have a look around and see that there is blue sky now, a little glimpse of blue sky in between the clouds. The clouds are whiter, lighter, and the wind settles even more. So it's safer for us to come further up to assess, to understand how we are. We might have lost many leaves and a few twigs, maybe even a branch. But the sky is blue and we are glistening with fresh rain after the storm. And looking around us, the whole landscape around us is glistening. And we can feel the sun gently warming our leaves, our branches, warming our trunk. And we can take a moment to enjoy this moment of peace after difficulty. Sensing all the way down to our roots, knowing that the earth is holding us. The sun is healing us. And that we're safe. And you can release your tree focus. Thank you for exploring tree life together. And I thought for the third part, I thought we might explore a song together. Singing is another great way of supporting when we have strong emotions, because we're looking for things that interrupt the momentum of our worry, of our anger. And so many different things can interrupt it. And when we sing, we cannot help but be in our bodies. So it's very difficult to stay up at the level of our mind when we are generating noise and sound and singing. And I loved, I think it was Terry who had invited the happiness song a few weeks ago. So there are so many different songs. It would be a whole other course. But I thought here's one that it's straightforward. We might even get to it, but we'll do one anyway. And it's good because we can use our hands. So I've worked with children who are like 2 years old, and they don't say many words, but they follow along with their hands. And it's called breathing in, breathing out. Very simple. So I will sing, and we might sing it twice, so you can receive it for the first time, and then you can join in with your hands. If you know it already, please join in as we go. Okay. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a flower. I am fresh as the dew. I am solid as a mountain. I am firm as the earth. I am free. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am water reflecting what is real, what is true. And I feel there is space deep inside of me. I am free, I am free, I am free. And let's do all that again. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a flower. I am fresh as the dew. I am solid as a mountain. I am firm as the earth. I am free. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am water reflecting what is real, what is true. And I feel there is space deep inside of me. I am free, I am free, I am free. Yay. What beautiful singing with all our hands. Thank you so much. If we have time, I'll share another good song for Zoom that's great with hands. Thank you, Deepa. So, welcome to week 4. I'm going to pause the recording for a moment now so that we can check in together. And maybe, yeah, we'll stay in the big group. Can we go if that's okay? So we can always translate if there are sharings. So I'll pause the recording. So thank you so much for your sharings. And I thought that we would do, and this is a great practice that helps in a lot of ways, and it has a big creative art element as well to it, which is a lot of fun. So we call it Imaginature. So like the word imagination with nature pushed together, Imaginature. And it's based on Joanna Macy's work. She offers many beautiful practices to help us fall in love with the earth and uplift our hearts. So sometimes when we bring our focus on the earth, we feel despair. And I think children especially are aware it makes very little sense to children why we live the way we do if it's causing so much damage. So I find this practice is very helpful to give them a sense of agency and contribution to help support the earth. So we will do this together. So allowing yourself to have a comfortable position. You might allow the child in you to come up and explore this together. And with this practice, we're going to be able to experience a completely different part of the world, completely different part of nature than you are. You're a part of nature, but you can go and find another part of nature to explore. So you can allow your heart's imagination to float up above your building so that you can have a look around and know that you can travel anywhere in the world. You can cross oceans, deserts, mountain ranges, ancient forests, and you can find some part of nature to explore. So you might want to explore life as a whale swimming across the ocean. You might want to be a tiger or a lion or a bear or a red panda or a kitten or an old tree or a little bird who lives in the tree. So you might be something that flies, something that lives on the earth, something that lives in the oceans or in the waters. You can be anything. And sometimes we have a fear. If you pick one thing, sometimes our mind goes, is this the best thing? Should I change? So know that whatever you've picked first is fine. You can do this over and over again. So you can allow yourself to really settle in. And we pour our awareness into this part of nature and really get to explore, what is it in contact with? What are the different things touching? Maybe it has little paw pads on the ground. Maybe it has fins swishing through the water. Maybe noticing the colors and the sounds around you. What is life like? There might be a lot of different noises, or it might be really quiet. Just allowing your own imagination to create this new experience, so that we begin to get a sense of what it's like to be this part of nature. And then we're going to ask 3 questions of this part of nature. 1, what is your favorite time of day? So we can kind of go through it a day just to get a sense of when the sky begins to lighten and the sun appears, how this part of nature feels. Maybe different sounds appear. So sensing the morning. And then sometimes the afternoon is a little slower, or sometimes it's time for a nap, depending on what part of nature you are. And then sensing as the sky begins to get darker, and we know that nighttime is coming, and the stars will come out soon. And for some of us, that's when we wake up. If you're a bat or a fox, you might be only waking up as it's getting dark. So some of us will be asleep through the night, and some of us will be wide awake exploring. So what's your favorite time of day or night? Beautiful. And then the second question we ask is there anything that you worry about? Is there anything that you worry about? And there may be nothing. The part of nature may go, no, I'm fine. Or there may be some concerns. So we allow ourselves to listen with our heart to the wisdom of this part of nature. And then the third question we ask is, now that you know this part of nature well, you can be an ambassador for this part of nature. So you will come back to the humans and you can bring a message. So is there a message from this part of nature that you can bring back to help the humans to understand and to take better care of this part of nature? So is there any message that this creature, this being, would like you to bring back to the humans to help us understand more? So we take a moment to just listen with an open heart to this part of nature. And then we can thank them for giving us this experience of being something so different, allowing ourselves to just to glimpse life through their eyes. And we can say that we'll do our best. We'll come back and speak for them if there's a message to bring back. And then we can say goodbye and allow your heart's imagination in your own time when you're ready to float up in the air above this part of nature. And then you're going to go back to whooshing around the world, crossing continents and oceans, bringing yourself all the way home. So finding your building and coming into the room, then finding you in the room, pouring yourself into you, all the way down through your belly, all the way down your legs till you find your toes, and you can wiggle your toes to see if you're really home. Are you really home? And then we can open our eyes and know that we're back as humans. So thank you for exploring that. So that's really part one of Imaginature. And then what we do is and then we sit together, and we get to share a little about where we've been and what are the messages of what we were worried about. Once in a small group, maybe 9 people, there were 2 lions. There were 2 people who were lions. And the first lion was a very happy lion. Like, I was a lion. Did you have anything to worry about? No, no worries. I was like, any message? No, no message for the humans. Just a happy lion. It's like, great. And then there was, a dolphin and an eagle, and then there was another lion. And so this young girl said, yeah, I was a lion too. And I was like, oh yeah, so what was your favorite time of day? And she described it. And then I said, is there anything that you worry about? And there was this pause, and she said, I don't think I should share. I don't want to worry the group. Oh no, she said, I don't want the group to be sad. I don't want people to be sad. And you could tell, like, the whole group were like, oh. And I said, no problem. Like, everything belongs in the group. So It's okay if it's a really serious message. It's okay if we feel sad. Sometimes there are really serious messages. And she said, well, I was a mommy lion. And she said, I had two babies, I had two cubs, and there were hunters trying to kill them. And like the kids were like, oh, killing babies, the worst thing ever. Like everyone's hearts were just like, this is terrible. And she said, they were trying to kill my children. And I said, so is there a message that you brought back? And she was like, yeah, don't kill my children. And I was like, so we had a very clear message. And then as a group, we talked about, we were in Ireland, so we don't hunt lions in Ireland because we couldn't even if we wanted to. But we talked about, well, so what are the ways that we could help? And then as a group, the children were like, you could donate to the World Wildlife Fund. You could give some of your pocket money to help them. We're like, great. And then it was like, you could raise awareness. You could share a social media post and tell people to stop hunting lions. Like, great. And then one of the other things was we could put peace into the sound of the bell. So we could fill the bell with all our love for all the lions, all the lion cubs, hope that all the hunters have clear, peaceful hearts. And then we sent out that with the sound of the bell. So this practice together, it gives us small and bigger ways of knowing that we are part of the planet and that there's something that we can do, even if it's producing an emotion of love or hope or kindness. Because I think kids, they're faced with the scale of the issue and they can't solve it, no matter how much they recycle, So it helps us do something so often, and we'll share it together now. I'll pause the recording in a moment. But like often people who have been something in the ocean, they come back and they say, stop throwing plastic in the ocean. That's my home. And so we talk about, well, if you go for a walk beside the sea, you could pick up 5 pieces of litter, 5 pieces of rubbish every time you go beside the sea. Just 5. You don't need to be out there all day, but just 5 is good. 5 is better than none, right? So that's helping in some way. And they talk together about, well, what are the things that we could actually do? So it gives us a little agency to feel I make a difference in the way that I can. I know that I'm doing what I can to help. And it also completely awakens all of the group to different parts of nature. It's the way, someone once spoke for the moss. They went and they became moss. It's like tiny little green moss on a tree. And they came back to speak for the mosses. And I remember someone came back as a pigeon. They had been a pigeon, so not the most fancy of birds. And they personally didn't like pigeons. They were a gardener and they liked feeding little pretty birds and they didn't like the big pigeons. And they came back in love with the pigeons. They came back and they were like, pigeons are amazing. I'm going to get a proper bird feeder that pigeons can land on. And so they spoke for the pigeons. So, by simply allowing ourselves to go somewhere else and explore a little, we can, and again, it helps us to notice our perspective changes all the time. As our wisdom increases as a group, our perspective gets deeper and wider, and our hearts get bigger. So it's a lovely way of growing together as a family, as a classroom, as a community group. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. Thank you so much. So we have space together to explore any questions or difficulties or things that just didn't land at all as a practice. And there were 2 practices that I wanted to mention that we haven't had a chance to experience in the classes together. And one is another movement practice, which is walking meditation. And when I do this with kids, we call it tiger walking. Tiger, like the lion. Tiger walking. And we do it because when I teach adults walking meditation, often they look like toddlers trying to walk. They look like very young children, and they kind of wobble a bit, and sometimes they fall over. And I think it's because of the weight of our thoughts. We are so up in our head that when we slow down our walking, our body is just not used to it. So the idea of tiger walking, of mindful walking, is that we allow ourselves to monotask. So when we were a child, or you might have seen a child take its first steps, and it's an extraordinary feeling to be able to walk. You know, seeing a little kid managing to balance themselves, and they tend to be amazed, and then they find someone and they lock eyes with them and they're like, and then they take more steps. And it's extraordinary to see a child walk. It's just amazing. And then as humans, we just get used to it and we kind of throw it away as a magical thing. So when we practice walking in this way, we kind of bring it all back to basics, and we let ourselves do it very slowly so that we can really get in touch with it again. So I'll put a guided practice. I don't think I have a recording there yet. I have a description, but I have a guided practice which was done for adults, but it gives loads of ideas about ways that you can walk to really stay in your steps. So some is by imagining what your footprints are full of. You know, that every step that we walk, every step that when we take a step against the earth, it's like a seal on a letter. It's like we're making an impression against the earth, and that is there forever. So if I take a step of distraction, of meanness, a frustrated step, that's what my footprint is full of. So I can also take a step with kindness or gratitude or hope or love. And that's what my footprints are full of. And we can allow our imagination to fill our footprints. They might be full of flowers, or they might be a beautiful pigment, a beautiful color, like an ochre or a rich earth color. They might shimmer in gold. Might be beautiful. So you can bring your imagination as a way of really focusing on the sensation of your footprint as it encounters the earth. And just like with passing clouds, we allow ourselves to bring our full attention to this movement, and then we let it go. With walking meditation, we bring our full attention. Everything is about forming this one footprint, and then we walk away from it. We just let it go, and we go on to the next footprint. So it really is a practice of allowing ourselves to focus and allowing ourselves to move. So it helps when we feel stuck in many other ways. And for me, walking is wonderful whenever there's a strong emotion. Sometimes sitting still is just a shock to the system. It's too hard. You sit still and everything else is still turning. But actually walking can be really helpful. Sometimes walking quickly. And then when you walk quickly and you can stay in your footprints, then sooner or later you just start to go more slowly, and it's easier to kind of slow yourself down. So with adult meditation groups, often they sit for a few minutes and then walk for a few minutes and then sit for a few minutes. And the second sitting tends to have this quality of clarity. Like second sit is amazing after walking. So walking meditation is a great gift, and we can do it between classes. We can do it as we're coming into the classroom after a break when the energy can be quite high. We can walk with a wish for peace in our classroom, for kindness in us today. So there's loads of different ways that we can allow ourselves to move. Sometimes we walk and we might have a friend who's not with us, and we can imagine that they're walking beside us. Maybe even someone who has died. We can just enjoy the walk with them. So it can be a great way of allowing ourselves to let go. I was walking a few months ago, and there had been, I can't remember what happened, but there had been a difficult morning. And I was feeling frustration was alive in me. And I was walking and I was like, frustrated. And I imagined it as like tiny little lightning. It's kind of what it felt like, pins and needles in English, the kind of tingly sensation. But I imagine like little thunder and lightning at the base of my, every footprint was like pointy. And I just walked and allowed it. And we know that the earth can receive anything that we can offer, and the earth can transform it. So you can really allow your anger to sink, your worries to sink, your grief, your sorrow. It's a very natural, heavy emotion that sinks very easily. But after I had walked one block, I noticed there wasn't lightning anymore. Then it was more neutral. And then after another block, then it was very pleasant. I had very happy footprints after 2 blocks. So it's something that children like notice a specific immediate effect. And sometimes I make a game of it. Like I'm saying, I would say, can we move and make as little sound as possible? And if you're on a wooden floor, it's quite difficult not to make a sound. But then they really get interested in their footprints, and they're like, oh. It's like, what is it to walk like a ninja? What if we were like, super experienced ninjas walking along? And again, then their whole body comes to life in a different way. So, and the reason why we call it tiger walking, to go back to the adults who fall over, is that Thich Nhat Hanh said that we can walk like a tiger. That sometimes we feel very wobbly, but actually we can embody the energy of a tiger, and she always knows exactly where she's setting her foot. So it's a big animal. It could fall over easily, except that she knows exactly what she's doing with each little paw as it comes down. So sometimes I'm walking beside a child and I can hear them saying, tiger, as they're stepping, which is very adorable. And there's also words we can use. You might, there are different kind of poetic phrases that you can say as you step, like, I have arrived, I am home, in the here, in the now. And sometimes I just say arriving. I take a step and I go, arriving, just arriving into this step. And then arriving into another step. So there's lots of different ways that we can do that. Thank you so much, June, if you're still here. So that's one is walking meditation, which is called Tiger. And then the other is about deep relaxation. So allowing ourselves space to let go and release. And there are different ways of helping ourselves invite ourselves to let go. I think that I work with several children who have real difficulty getting to sleep, where it's really interrupting their evening, it's interrupting their parents' evening, and then it builds anxiety. So then they get more of a ritual about bedtime to try and, take care of it. And then the whole evening is about whether I'm going to be able to fall asleep or not. So often what we do is we take the focus from bedtime to any other time of the day. And then we do relaxation for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or longer. So with kids, there are loads of different ways. Like even the butterflies last week reminded me that one time we made butterflies out of, choose 2 sticky notes here. Hope there's nothing very important. But we cut out little butterfly wings and kind of stuck them together, pretend that that's a butterfly. And then you could put them on your tummy. And as you breathed, the little butterfly just moves a little bit up and down. So it gives you, really you can't see your tummy, but you can see everyone else's tummy. So we spent some time cutting out little butterfly wings and making a little sticky butterfly to put on our tummy. And often children have a favorite toy, and that can also just sit on their tummy, so that as they breathe, they can watch this little toy rise and fall. So my key offerings about deep relaxation are: there's never any need to fall asleep, and there's never any need to relax. It's what I would say. That it is simply an invitation to our body to know that it's okay to let go. And it's really like, we just don't want to get into this mind control. I will make you fall asleep. So instead, it's always simply an invitation just to know. So we scan through our body. There's a meditation online that was created for my youngest niece who had difficulty sleeping. And it's called Lily's Bedtime, and it's never mentions the word sleep, I think, because it's just something for her to play at bedtime. So we kind of do a body scan, and we just invite, it's okay to let go, it's okay to rest. So that even if we don't fall asleep, actually we've had some meaningful relaxation. You know, sometimes we have a whole night's sleep and we don't feel any more refreshed. So it's actually about the intentional quality of rest rather than about being awake or sleeping. So I find even even to take 2 or 3 breaths, and it's having this quality of like nowhere to go and nothing to do. Just get to be, and no one else to be, just me. And just allowing your body to rest, your heart to rest, allowing your mind to rest. Even if it's just for a moment. And it's similar to walking meditation in that once we learn our way home, once we know our way home, then we can do things at different paces. So we learn to walk really slowly. And once we know where our feet are, once we can be in our feet, then we can move at any pace and we can stay connected. So then we can walk quickly, we could play football, we can run, all of that's possible. Once we really first have the connection with our feet. And once we have the connection of an invitation to let go and release, then again, we might not need very long. Sometimes if I'm driving in the car and I come to a red light, a red traffic light, I'll think, oh, red light. And I let my back rest against the seat. I'm like, fantastic, red light, nothing to do, just for a moment. And I know my way home quickly enough now that just stopping at a red light for 1 or 2 breaths changes things. And then the green light appears and we're on our way again. So we don't need a huge amount of time. For me, I find teenagers especially are really malnourished for rest. And sometimes when I go into older schools, I'll say, you could put your head in your hands even if you want to. And like people just fall completely asleep in the classroom in the 12-minute meditation. So it's great for everyone, but for children especially, like if they're tired, often we're tired and we don't listen to our body. We just keep scrolling or keep doing something else, or we watch one more episode. And this is something that if we're tired, gosh, we could just rest for a moment. And so not every moment has to be action-packed. And you might have some children who are, they have the energy that they want to move around. They don't want to rest. They might like to read or color or stretch or do something else. So not everyone has to be doing the same thing as well all the time. So there are 2 practices that I wanted to mention. And then there were a few questions that had come in. So let me just line these up in a row. So one question was about how I work with children kind of in a formal way. So I'll talk about that a little bit. So I do, so I've done different things. So I do a course called Happy Families, where the whole family can come together. And I've done that online during the pandemic. And sometimes I'll go to one family's house. We do it for 6 weeks, where I'll go every week, and whether it's a baby, a 12-year-old, 2 parents and a grandparent, whoever, whatever age, whatever the conditions, we just try and create space to practice together. And that tends to be quite flexible in terms of the program of what we do. kind of go and meet people. And then I think, this might be good. We might start, usually I start with weather, and then I see where we go from there. So there's loads of different ways that we can practice together. And I do, the first thing that I did 8 years ago was I started a community group. My nephew wanted to learn mindfulness. And I said, well, what if we rent a room and we invite other children? And he said, okay. So we did that. And then 8 years later, the group was still going. And, hundreds of children, and they had to bring a grown-up. That was the trick, was that the children had to bring any grown-up in their life. So there could be like 3 friends, and they just need one adult in their life. And although when I'm with kids, I think I'm a supportive facilitator, but the magic for a child of getting to see a grown-up who they know and, who's really influential, to get to see a parent or a teacher or someone in their life do this in front of them is so, so influential. So like in this community group, the children were always allowed to color. Unless we were sounding the bell, they could always color. And there'd be times where kids would be coloring away and the parents would be like, are you paying attention? And I was like, hey, not your business. I'll facilitate. You don't need to worry. This is not school. No problem. But they were soaking everything up, and they were especially watching their parents like do starfish, talk about how anger feels, talk about how happiness feels, water their flowers. Like, it was extraordinarily influential. So a community group was great, and I think schools could have their own version of an after-school club, I think, very easily. And then, so I do lots of different, I've done like sensory festivals based on our 5 senses and mindfulness, and character strengths. I often blend it with research into character strengths. So there are 5 character strengths that are most important for living a happy life. So that's zest, curiosity, gratitude, love, and hope. So then with each of those strengths, find a mindfulness practice, choose a sense of our body to wake up, and then just design a load of games around those. So there's lots of different things it can look like. So that was the questions I hopefully responded okay to so far. And I wanted to say as well, I'll send out an email when the final video is ready. And if anyone needs a certificate, sometimes we just love them, and sometimes our schools love them. So if you need a certificate, just send me the name that should be on the certificate, and I can send you out one. Okay, so I'm going to pause there, and there may have been another question that got touched or a reflection. So please allow space. And maybe actually I'll pause recordings so that we can do it as a sharing in case it's personal. Okay, so this is a song called We Are All the Leaves of One Tree. We are all the leaves. Oh, wait, I should explain the song. No, it's fine. Let me explain first. So I love this song because it was written by children at a children's mindfulness retreat. And it's very special because there were children whose ears could hear and children whose ears could not hear. So it was written in 2 languages, in English and I think American Sign Language. And so I've heard this in Vietnamese, German, Spanish, Italian, English, and always we sign at the same time, always. So even though I speak none of the other languages, I can always sing along with it. So that's the background to the song. Okay, here we go. We are all the leaves of one tree. We are all the leaves of one tree. The time has come for all to live as one. We are all the leaves of one tree. Waves of one sea. We are all the waves of one sea. little waves. We are all the waves of one sea. The time has come for all to live as one. We are all the waves of one sea. We are all the stars of one sky. We are all the stars of one sky. The time has come for all to live as one. We are all the stars of one sky. And then we do one of each. We are all the leaves of one tree. We are all the waves of one sea. Look at that ocean. The time has come for all to live as one. We are all the stars of one sky. Yay. How beautiful are we? Thank you so much for being together. Yes, I'm so happy to be connected, and may, by us taking good care of ourselves, may we take care of many other humans, animals, the planet at the same time. So we can unmute for a messy Zoom goodbye, and I'll be in touch in a few days with an email.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Ola.
Tchau, tchau. Muchas gracias. Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Take good care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.